Wonderful. And now I'm going to switch to the okay. Mm, okay. I think I'm figured out now. Um, so we've been talking about the church architecture. The Orthodox Church is based on the um, New Testament, the New Testament temple, the Old Testament temple, um, and the just to refresh the um, the courts of the Old Testament temple where everybody together was the narthex. That's the back of the church, and the sanctuary is the nave, um, and where we everyone stands because they're the priesthood of the believers. And what we're going to talk about tonight is the Holy of Holies, and we got up to the iconostas. That's what we're talking about now. Um, the first thing that is at the iconostas that um, we don't necessarily have in our church at St. Luke's, um, but you generally find in an Orthodox church is the ambo. There's a raised, usually the altar is on a couple of feet up. You can see this at St. Simeon's, the Greek Orthodox Church in Birmingham, and it's the directly in front of the royal doors is a curved section that represents um, the the rock in front of the tomb. That the stone that was rolled away, and so that's why it's curved there. Um, the iconostas um, is it's icon screen is what it means, um, and it's sorry. Um, so So the iconostas is the first thing you'll see. These are the elements we're going to be talking about tonight. The iconostas and the altar, the cross media, the high place. Something I want to really convey here is that there's a sense that this is a sacred place. This is a place where heaven touches earth. The Greek word is kora. It's what the Celts call a thin place. The veil between heaven and earth is thin. It's you can find God throughout, everywhere. God is present everywhere, but this is a place where His presence is felt more. The iconostas, these are the elements that we're going to talk about that are present in the full iconostas. You have the royal doors down here in the middle. This is where the great high priest would step through the Holy of Holies in the Jewish temple. The curtain with Christ's death and resurrection, the curtain separating has been split. And so Christ, the high priest, through the priest, Father Basil, steps through and brings forth the offering to us. To either side are what are called the deacon's doors. These are because they're called the deacon's doors. You'll and they're named for that because the deacons come through there to make their petitions. Generally, you will have an icon of the of one of the saints who were deacons, like Saint Stephen, Saint Lawrence, or you'll have icons of the angels because they're the deacons at the throne of God. So sometimes you'll have one of either on the two doors. To either side of the royal doors, you'll have Christ present, and on one side, and the Theotokos on the other side. God this again. What you will generally see, well, what you'll always see, is on one side we have the Theotokos dressed in a red robe with blue underneath, holding Christ. On the other side, you have Christ wearing a robe on the outside. This is Christ at the second coming. This is at his first coming, that's at his second coming. And the colors represent the fact that Christ's divinity was hidden beneath his outer flesh, human form. At the second coming, his divine nature will be revealed and not hidden. To the side of the Theotokos, you will have an icon of St. John the Forerunner. And then to the side of Christ, you'll have the patron saint of the temple. And going out further on either side, if there's room, you'll have various saints that are highly revered in that particular community, like see here St. Nicholas, might be St. Herman of Alaska. That will depend upon the congregation. Always above the royal doors, you'll have an icon of the mystical supper, the Theanos. And then on either side of them are the great feasts of the church, the 12 great feasts. I think there's one extra, so there may be some slight variation of that to make it 12. Above that, if there's room, there'll be icons of the prophets with the Trinity in the middle. The Trinity represented by the three angels that Abraham hosted. And then on the next level, you'll see icons of the prophets of the Old Testament. And this is just so you can kind of see it clearer. This is a church in Russia, and it's very ornate because you look at the doors there. It's magnificent to see. You know, see it. Can you? Okay. You see it now? Okay. Okay. Good deal. Sorry for the technical difficulties. First, we're going to talk about the altar itself, and the altar cloth is the first thing you see here. That's the cloth that represents the cloth that Christ, the baby, the swaddling clothes. I'm going to kind of quickly run through here, and then we'll talk about them in detail. We'll talk about the antimension, the relic, and in the case of our church, there are, I think Father talked about this about a month ago because we celebrated the feast day of the martyrs, Caracas, Probus, and Andronicus. Their altars are sewn into the antimension. Altar, the tabernacle, the candlesticks on either side there, the seven branch, and the blessing cross. The underneath the gospel book is a red cloth, technically called the iliton, and it represents the swaddling clothes of Christ or his burial shroud. Wrapped within it is what's called the antimension. The antimension stands in place of the bishop. This is what allows the priest. It's like a blessing from the bishop to serve, that you have the authority, his authority to celebrate the divine liturgy as an Orthodox, by an Orthodox priest in an Orthodox parish. This one's in Greek, but at the bottom here will be his signature. He'll physically sign the antimension. On top of, as I said, on top of that is the gospel book. The gospel on one side will have an icon of Christ's resurrection with the four gospel writers, and then on the back will be the crucifixion with the four great prophets. It's not, the gospel contains the readings that are read in the church. It's not generally, in some cases, it might be like regular New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Most cases, it's divided up into readings. And that can be kind of, it's very handy for the priest because there are some readings that are, the word is a concatenation. They're a mixture of verses. This is especially true in Holy Week when there are the 12 Passion Gospels, and they are verses from several different Gospels referring to one of them. So that's but when the church is celebrating matins, the priest comes out to read the gospel. he'll hold it. He'll hold it up for the congregation to come up and venerate. And a few other times that may be possible, but generally it's only a priest or a deacon that holds it. This is the gospel that's on our altar. Um, very, we're very grateful for it. It was donated to us. In the center is what's called the tabernacle. You'll see there in the middle is a small box. That's where the priests keep reserved sacrament to take to those that are in the hospital. Sometimes it's made out of brass or ceramic. It's made to look like a small church. That's the word tabernacle. One day out of the year, on Holy Thursday, when we have liturgy that is really we are celebrating the mystical supper Christ celebrated with his apostles. That reserved sacrament is consumed by the priest and replaced with a new reserved sacrament. Behind the tabernacle is a 7-branch candlestick. It may sit on top of the altar. Sometimes it's made to be freestanding behind. It can be small or large. This is you see this reference here from Revelations. In the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one likened to the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the chest with a golden belt. It is this. All of these again are from the Jewish temple, and the Jewish temple was a 7-branch candlestick. The church started. It has its worship. Its worship began in the Jewish temple. That is, we are the fulfillment of the Jewish temple. To the right of the gospel is the blessing cross that the priest brings out. He'll, whenever the priest, Father Basil has told me that when he is ordained, he is the married to the altar. He is this, and when he comes back there, that every single time he kisses the gospel, the cross, and the altar, and reverence that this is his affection in a way, that this is where he serves. To the left of the altar, back in the corner, is where the priest prepares the communion for church, for the divine liturgy. And sitting on the altar are several vessels that will later during the entrance get transferred to the altar. But he'll have the loaf of bread. In some cases, it's one large loaf. In some traditions, it's 5 loaves, and like the blessing of the 5 loaves. Either one are appropriate. You'll have the chalice, the discos here. You see the star, which is has 4 arms. They sit over the lamb there, the bread, as the star stood over Christ in the cave. There are the altar veils that go over both of these, and then the large cloth, what we call the air, that goes over both of them. I'll get into talking about this more when I talk about the liturgy itself. There is a sponge on the table that that goes into the chalice when it's once um, outside of the Eucharist. At other times, there's a spear. You can see that here. The spoon. Um, Here is there's a small dish called the xenon. That's where I bring Father some hot water and wine to, to drink after, or just hot water to help clean the when the child when the gifts are being consumed after communion. Um, the priest um, the priest or a deacon will consume the gifts at the end of the liturgy, and then there'll be a list of names. Um, there are he has there the living and the dead that he always remembers. Father has a long list. He takes it very serious. He remembers all of you um, and all those that depart the church. Um, he remembers um, all the priests in our diocese that have reposed since the diocese was founded, and um, priests of the Orthodox Church in America. It's the anniversary of their repose this week. All those that have departed in our parish. He told me about at seminary the list of names that they have since seminary was founded in the 1930s, and they remember all the departed um, connected with the seminary over the years. And it takes a long time to read all the names. I think they have several people that do that. So if you have people that you want him to remember, that we can have you can provide me or Father Basil with a list of names, or any other parish that you visit. That's perfectly fine. Write it down on a list of names, give it to a deacon, give it to a server, and he'll take them back. There are some um, churches that may have a loaf out front that you can offer up with the name. When the bread is made often by a member of the community. And this at the present, Father's making it, but it may occasionally be made by a member of the parish as an offering. And in the early church, that procession where we bring the gifts out, that actually came from another building around to the altar. There are other elements in at the altar. There are the processional cross, the fans, the censers. These are um, um, in the fans themselves represent the seraphim that were um, stand about the altar, about God's throne. And so they're represented in the middle is a carved image of a relief of the six-winged seraphim. It's they're made out of metal. Sometimes they're made out of wood. They're wood carving, or sometimes they're painted like an icon. Um, Again, I really emphasize to all of you that if you get the opportunity, any opportunity you have to visit another Orthodox church, that's great. The more exposure, um, the better. The more you feel like it's the same church, the same liturgy everywhere you go. There's no, there's not there's small variation, not big variation. And of course, a lot depends on the size of the parish, what is possible and what isn't. So many of these items that I've been showing you have been donated to the church by other churches. The 7 branch was donated by another church. The band here, the chalice. We're very fortunate that in the beginning, a lot of priests and churches donated to us. You also find at the altar a processional cross. You'll find like I said, that the processional cross you're not going to find, you're not going to see it brought out except on, well, as the name implies, when we go on a procession outside, usually is the only time you'll see that being carried, that like around the church. And the censers are the censers are the offering up the prayers of the saints, prayers of a holy one, the prayers of a holy one that availeth much. And at the center of the church, you'll find what's called the high place. The very middle, when we as servers, and when you in the congregation walk past the middle of the church, it's customary to bow towards that high place and cross yourself, because that's where a bishop would sit if he were present. The bishop represents Christ, the high priest. He is our high priest. And so there's usually an icon of Christ there that we're honoring. So when you come out of the nave, when you leave the nave and walk out, turn and bow towards that high place and cross yourself before you leave, out of honor. So, do we have any questions? Any? Okay. Well, I think that covers the altar, and so we're going to conclude with a prayer to the Theotokos. It is truly meet to honor thee, O most holy Theotokos, blessed and most holy Mother of God, more honorable than cherub, more glorious beyond comparison than seraphim. Thou defilement that gives birth to God the Word, through Theotokos, your Lord, and I appreciate you guys being here, and I hope you have a good evening.
Thanks, Nicholas.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Nicholas. Have a good one.
Thank you.